Hello, welcome to Having Fun with Walt Frasier. I'm Walt Frasier, and this is my podcast. I'm talking today with David Morea. David, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is David Morea. I am a cast member of 8 Improv.
Awesome. And you're much more than that. You're a filmmaker,
Oh
right?
yeah, all that stuff
You're
too.
an
Sure.
actor. You do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I'm a full-time videographer, photographer. I've made a couple of documentaries. I'm not particularly an actor. Only when it comes to improv is when I'm an
Oh, okay.
actor.
Okay. We'll
But
talk
I'm
at the end more
really
about
auditioning
mermaids,
for
but yeah.
anything. Yeah.
But yeah, a great film, great documentaries, great work. He's teaching for us now at our Saturday 12 o'clock shows, popping into a lot of our murder mystery shows. And how did you get started with us?
How did I get started with you guys? Well, I was doing the UCB thing for a while. I was never on a
Hmm.
team, but I had done the cycle and by the ever-changing system that they had. And by the time I got through it, COVID happened and I hadn't done improv for maybe like 2 or 3 years at that point. And then I saw
Hmm.
something online that you had posted that you needed somebody um for a show that night. And I was like, well, improv's kind of like a bike, isn't it? So I contacted you to see if you had any space open, and you said you got it casted for that night, but to come in and do the jams. And so then I did the jams for a little bit, and then you eventually asked me to join. So I've been
Yeah,
performing
yeah,
ever
yeah.
since.
Yeah, you're a funny guy. David's very, very funny. And we love having him part and does almost all of our Saturday 3 o'clock shows, a lot of our Saturday 12 o'clock classes. So talked about, and this is interesting because a lot of people I've talked to, the first three episodes, we're all theater students, I think, or at least we're doing comedy as kids with some aspirations for comedy or theater, or started early. When did you start getting on stage doing improv for the first time?
It was with the UCB classes. Improv was something that I had always wanted to do. And I had chosen film school over acting school just because I
Mm.
don't have a desire to be an actor. Um, And by the time I got a master's degree in Europe and I came back and it was just trying to kind of like build your life post college and improv classes are very expensive. So it took me a couple of years to get in the position where I can actually pay for one.
Mm.
And so as my videography company jobs got better, I was able to afford some classes and I ended up fast tracking it. And that was the first time that I got on stage to do improv.
Now, did you do
Oh, but I did
any
do I
acting?
did
Oh,
do
yeah.
I did do like I did do plays and like in elementary school, middle school, and like I think maybe I did something in like college, but I don't remember. But I
Okay.
have done shows
Okay.
just because I like the aspect of creating and collaborating.
Right, right, right,
But
right.
I'm not good at it
Don't
as
say
far as being an
that. Everybody
actor.
says that.
You
Yeah.
know what? There's very
I
talented
I
people out
told
there who are good at their things, and I'm just that's just not where I
well, there's
shine.
talent and then there's like, if you're auditioning for Broadway, you gotta be really good in most cases. Or you have reality TV credits and you can bring an audience. It's like everything else. But no, I'm not complaining about that, just the reality of the world these days. But
Yeah.
I work with a lot of people that they say they're not good, and then they do it, and like that was pretty good. And it's
Yeah.
like you know what I mean? It's like, are you auditioning for Broadway? Maybe no, but to get up and do that and have fun, And I was always my whole thing is like trying to knock stage fright off the top of the list using improv. I always say I'm not teaching improv. I'm teaching confidence, listening, focus, public speaking, especially because I do mostly corporate team building and K-12 educational outreach. But so like even that statement to me is like, yeah, what do you mean you're not that good? You're great. It's just maybe you're not ready for Broadway, but you could
Yeah,
do it. You know what I mean? It's not
I
rocket
think
science.
mostly the problem back then was that it was very amateurish. There was no
Yeah,
training.
yeah.
Terrible scripts, terrible storylines, which that's putting the onus on them. Um, but it's I didn't have any knowledge of like the technical aspects of acting, and I've done the technical aspects of improv, so I think that's probably why I'm a bit better at it than I would be
Mm.
as opposed to like Shakespeare or like
Well,
Days of Our Lives.
well, then along those lines, what was it like getting on stage for the first couple times? What was your experience with, if not stage fright, those anxieties and dealing with the first couple times getting in front of people, either at the audition or at the opening nights? rehearsals? What was that like for you at the beginning?
It's kind of the same as it is now, where it's just terrifying.
That's
The audition
interesting.
process is scary.
Yeah.
As but doing the actual show, it's not as scary. Of course, you get nervous because if you're not nervous, you don't care. And
Mm,
but I kind of go on like an autopilot whenever I'm on stage, and because I know I'm there with somebody else, and we're there to support each other. And again, another reason why I like improv, because it's more of a convivial atmosphere than it is like stand up, where you're on the stage by yourself and it's all on you. So like we're
100%.
all in this together, and you're out there to make me look good, and if I look bad, I make you look bad. So I kind of just it's kind of like a fight or flight situation at that point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that I enjoy.
Tell me more about terrifying. I'm curious digging into where you say it's terrifying.
It's like definitely kind of the it's when you have the first wave of imposter syndrome,
Mm,
you either have to decide to like bail out or fake it till you make it. And so then I kind of decide to fake it till I make it.
awesome.
I've never bailed out on an audition or on a
Yeah,
on a process. I just like, well, I'm here. I might as well give it a shot. And if I'm not good, I'm not good. Like, what are they gonna do? Mock me? No, we're all there for
yeah,
the
yeah.
same
Yeah.
reason.
It's funny you
So
say that. Opening night, still nerves. You're excited. You're anxious, but you're confident from a standpoint of you've done the work. You're surrounded by people you trust and all that kind of stuff. And as opposed to the audition where you're just there. And I feel that's the only time. I don't know if I would call it imposter syndrome for me, but the one time where I don't feel comfortable in my own skin doing what we do is at an audition where I'm not prepared for. And
yeah,
full disclosure, I think if any failure I have in my career is not taking auditions seriously too often. And when I do,
yeah,
I usually book the part. So I
yeah,
know I'm capable. But all those times I walked in either thinking I was good enough, I didn't have to do the work, or there are too many times with TV auditions per se where it's like a one line and I don't take it seriously. I don't respect it as an actor the way I should. And that's on me. And that's, and the couple times I did, I either got a call back or I got the booking.
yeah,
And that's, yeah, 100%. And then with the improv, yeah, like, I always say what's great about the improv, I never feel like I have imposter syndrome because you can't do it wrong. So, but it is at the beginning quite terrifying. And every once in a while, even like 23 years in, 53 years in on life, almost 54. Uh, I know you're right. We're not old. I'm gonna take your word for it. I dyed my hair just to
There's a
convince
lot.
myself of that.
Yeah. Hey, you know what?
No more aging gracefully. I'm back to
The
pretending
solution
I'm
always
30.
comes in a box, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's possible. And I use the beard and mustache stuff because it came by mistake, but it's effective. It works. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be perfect. There's still enough, just a little lines. And actually, this isn't two tone. This is the lighting. It actually is incredibly like emo dark for my taste. It was supposed to be light brown. I digress.
Dish soap.
Is
It
that the good
lightens
stuff?
it up.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Oh, okay. Not just the bleach and or the
No, you just
peroxide.
put some Dawn in it and it'll take a couple shades off.
All right. I have used
No, but
peroxide to try
about
to
the
go blonde in the
auditioning
summer.
stuff, about the auditioning stuff, I think the
Yeah,
paradox for me is like, again, like I'm not an actor. I didn't come up trained as an actor. I just never trained how to audition. So I think one of my big issues is that I come to auditions woefully underprepared.
sure.
I didn't never auditioned for eight. I think I just kind of proved myself after a while.
Yeah, I didn't think so. In fact, after a pandemic, we didn't do a lot of auditions because we'd have auditions and nobody would show up, or nobody we could use would show up. It's funny. I think back in the day, I used to get all these like Broadway types. I even had people that had Broadway credits auditioning for us. And since pandemic, we are not getting a lot of those people. Thanks to places like the Magnet Theater doing more musical improv training, we're getting improv people that are now trained in musical theater. But our old casts used to be Broadway people, and even Sam, who's a fully trained UCB guy, he's done the sketch, the improv, the whole thing. But he was a Broadway guy first. He went to college for musical theater. He was doing regional plays. He had a lot of performance training. And my experience, people that just came from UCB back in the day were not great performers. They could do improv, but if they weren't actors first, if they didn't do college training, the college wasn't enough. They needed what UCB gave them. But those people that had both those trainings were amazing. If they just had UCB, they were kind of like they weren't doing yes and they were kind of like the modern bros mentality, if they're especially the guys. And then a lot of the
Yeah.
ladies were just like, I'm just looking for stage time because it's like five guys in every team and I can't get on a team. It was like the old school. So, but now more and more we're getting the people because of Magnet Theater and some other places that have both skills. But you came with UCB and working in our workshops, learning our short form style. You picked it up pretty quick. Did I even have you lead class before I put you on a show, or did I put you on a show first?
I think it's kind of happened at the same time.
Okay, yeah. I know you're in the 12 o'clock workshop, and I'm like, hey, I'll give you a couple bucks to run it this week because we got busy and
Sure.
and a lot of times with improv murder mystery, sometimes like, we're quadruple booked, and if you're a client watching this, we never send new people on a big corporate event. But for our public shows, like we have 4 or 5 people on a show, like that fifth position, sometimes like a training position, we'll put a fifth person on there, or doing some of these jams and whatnot, we'll put somebody in there and a way to train them. If you're hiring us for a corporate event, you're getting myself, Sam, Dave. Now, we could do one of those, and Amelia, of course, Thomas, Liz, blah 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 blah, Larice. We have people that have been with us for years that are excellent corporate trainers and corporate performers. But as you're training new people up, our process, had very few people that when I have auditions that they came in ready to do our show. Our show just has a particular style about it. And some people come in, they're amazingly talented and they never get there because they're locked in this. Or they come in after one rehearsal and I'm like, I have a gig tomorrow. It says, clearly you know what you're doing. You've been doing other short form. A lot of people come from outside New York City, have done a lot of short form. They've done more comedy sports. They've done more theater sports. They've done more local troops that do what we do. And we just have to train them up on the musical theater. But a few of those, that are actually gigging out there have done that training. So they're ready to rock. But most people know, even the people that have 4 years of UCB behind them, they need to learn the short form in our style. But so tell me about is there anything you do? Because again, my kind of whole mission statement right now is knocking stage fright off the top of the list. I've been saying for years our mission is to spread joy and laughter, one show and workshop at a time, while training all these invaluable life skills. But realize that's what we do. The mission for me is like knocking stage fright off the top of the list. Because when I go into a workshop and I see that one person that's afraid to participate, my goal is to get that person comfortable on stage, to create that safe space. What do you do individually, and then later we'll talk about what do you do as a teacher to help create that?
To knock off stage fright.
Yeah, and not even just stage fright, but getting yourself in a headspace where you can have fun on stage and not worry about, you know, whether it's from dealing with stuff that's going on in the real world, because that's always kind of fun. Not just news and politics, our own lives, life happens, and then we got to go be funny and entertain other people.
Well, I think above all, like as like somebody who's like not an actor, not somebody who's professionally trying to become like a famous actor or whatever. I would do, and I go to these classes. I went to the jams, just because improv brings me a sense of joy, and it's like that serotonin rush that I enjoyed having.
Awesome.
As far as like beating stage fright, I think, like I said before, it's very convivial and you're like not by yourself, you're not alone, and you have people there with you that are their goal is to like help you succeed and make sure you succeed. And then I feel like a jerk if I'm bringing down the scene because I'm scared or nervous or something. I remember like there was one time when I was performing with the UCB class show, and I got so nervous that I like the muscles in my toes were flexing in order to like push me off the stage. I was getting ready to run,
Oh,
but I ended up sticking through the scene. It ended up being a absolutely horrible scene. Um, but it's also because you don't know the people that you're performing with. I think another thing
mhm.
that helps you with the stage fright is that we've developed in our team a relationship, so we have a synergy when we go on stage, and that we're able to kind of like work with each other and just be like, okay, so what are we doing now? Like, how's this going? And you kind of know how each particular actor that you're doing a scene with at this point, you kind of know where they could take it, what their mindsets are, and how you can like gift them and help them kind of move in the direction that you think you're going, or how you can like pick up on
Mm,
the cues that they're doing where they think the scene should be going. And I think when you get kind of like lost in that and caught up in it, that's you stop thinking about the audience and whatever's happening in your own life. I never kind of think about my own personal life whenever I'm like doing a show. That's
awesome.
just not something that I bring with me. Also, like, especially if like we have a stage or an audience that I feel I say this all the time, where it's like either we have a thin audience or we have an audience that's not receptive, or maybe it's like a European audience where it's like they love it. At the end, they're like, oh, that was great. But during the show, they're just dead silent. And we're like, okay, well,
Yeah.
this is just I'm just performing for you guys. Like, let's just have fun with this.
Right, right, right.
And I mean, we're there to have fun. If you're not there to have fun, then why are you here?
You know, it's interesting you say because you're not a trained actor, quote unquote, but the I think the difference between a trained actor and people that more just do comedy, we have experience with like Sunday matinee crowds where they are very quiet. They're older usually. And I learned over the years that they're quiet because they're listening and they're afraid to laugh or they're afraid to even clap sometimes because they don't want to miss anything. They're struggling with age, they're struggling with hearing, all this stuff, and in some cases, or they're just like you said, the European crowds. They just listen. They don't give you as much feedback. You know, they always people joke about the English uh, demure or whatever. You know, it's a little more reserved and whatnot. But they're engaged. They're just not engaging as an
Yeah.
audience, and when you're not used to that, it's very painful when you're on stage. It's like nobody's laughing, nobody. But I've learned, I
All
started to get
right.
into this in comedy. Quiet is better than rustling. As when I talk to comics, I did a podcast a few weeks ago where a quote unquote comic interviewed me, and I say that because it's like the way he was talking to me, the question he was asking, I'm like, I don't know if you really know comedy. Like these questions are coming from weird places, but he would ask me like, "What do you do when it's quiet?" And I was like, "Thank God." And now because I've had audiences that like to talk. You know, you have audiences. You know, there are certain types of audience that talk to you the way they do at a movie theater per se. They're not respectful of the live theater progress. They realize they feel like talking to you is part of the theater going experience. That's what they've been learned trained over years and culturally and whatnot. Other audiences talk to each other in the back, and at the end, they both tell you how great you are. But you're like, during the show, it's like, oh my gosh, I have a headache
Yeah.
trying to compete with you the whole time.
I think we had
Quiet is
somebody on
better.
the phone once during this show. They were in the back ordering something online, I think.
Lovely. Yeah, we yell
What
at
are you
the
doing?
kids, listen, focus, respect. The adults are worse. And a
Yeah.
lot of times we're doing a show that's supposed to like a family friendly show, and like the drunk uncles are in the back at a bar mitzvah or graduation party or something like that, and they're just talking, and then like at the end they're like, "Oh, you guys were so good." I'm like, really, you were just screaming at each other in the back. I could hear you
Yeah.
more than I could hear the actor next to me, and the louder we get, the louder you get. And I'm like, oh, the kids had a good time, but it's like, or even worse, you're in a classroom and you're teaching and you got the kids' attention. I've got 26 special ed kids in there, whatever the name is now. Forgive me for nomenclature, but I have their attention. You threw three classes in one for some reason. You separate them every other day because you know teacher ratio is important for those type of groups, for all groups. But you put them all in one room for me, and now you have six teachers that are bored because I got their attention by myself. And then they start talking in the corner. And I'm like,
Mhm.
hey, I got them. Stop. They're now looking at you because you're talking, right? All those things that we hate, like as teachers, when they're talking in the back. The teachers do it when they're not on focus, right? So it's, yeah, as a teacher, as a performer, and again, you want to work, so you only say so many things. But I find myself, the
Yeah.
older I get, at least, I feel more comfortable. I don't think I'm throwing anybody under a bus, but I'm calling them on their you know what. I'm saying you don't like it when they do that, so lead by example.
Yeah.
Camp counselors, especially 14, 15, 60-year-old so-called. leaders, the CITs and whatnot, no problem telling them you're ruining this.
Yeah. Also, I want to clarify. I'm not a trained actor, but I am a trained
Oh
improvisationalist.
yeah, fair, fair. Yeah,
Improv
and
person.
and
Whatever the
and,
word
and
is,
it's
I
funny
can't
you
say
say that
it.
because I would never guess that you're not a trained actor. You're very good with characters. You're very good with story. That might come from the filmmaking too, but
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
you know what I mean. I
Anything.
think story is story is story. It's almost like sales is sales is sales. There's a thousand ways to present a story, from
Hmm.
animation to live to film to documentary to narrative to improv, and there are elements of story that are pretty universal, and even if it's even, and again, once you know the universal rules, breaking them is how you be original. But you have an idea of there's a character, there's a setting, there's a why, there's a what. We break improv down to those who, where, what's, and the why is part of the who when you're being technical. But you come with that storytelling element, and then once I think with improv, I always say what I do isn't rocket science. And a lot of actors I deal with hate it when I say anybody could do what I do. Not that anybody can do what I do because they haven't had the experience or the training, or not that they would do what I do because they're too afraid to get on stage in the first place or quit their
Yeah.
day job with a steady paycheck. But but beyond that, nothing I do is rocket science. It's just over years and years and years you get better and better. And that was with you. You came in, you were fun, and over a few months you figured it out to the point where I could pay you to do this. Sure.
Hmm. Cool.
Yeah. And again, you
Just
had
gotta learn how to do it.
yeah, and you had the full UCB program. It's not, yeah, like you said, you're not trained.
Yeah.
And and like I said, I find people that just have the UCB programming, but because you went to film school too, you had the framework of a story of and production. And I think that also why I'm more and more kind of leaning on you as a leader. If you're the only one there, if I'm not there and you're there, I'm like, I'm going to send Dave the information on the client.
Hmm.
Potentially, I'm going to say send Dave because those are the skills that sometimes you don't learn in college. You learn from producing. You learn from doing it, from teaching too, I think. You learn how to
Yeah.
organize a space and a group of people beyond just, okay, these are the games we're going to play.
Right. Yeah. Production.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And that's a whole nightmare. I can't imagine.
It's pulling everyone together.
So talking about production, now, first of all, let's talk about Mermaids because I see Mermaids. I bought it on Amazon, and then like 8 months later, I finally sat down and watched it. I love it. I think it's amazing.
Oh,
And I'm wondering, like, how often have I heard about this place and just forgot about it until you saw the movie? Because I've had at least three times where I saw it in pop culture references or people talking about it because I have family south of there by maybe an hour. It's up by Gainesville, right? Or north of Gainesville?
South. Yeah.
Oh, south of Gainesville. Yeah,
That's
so it
close.
might be.
It's
Yeah, they're in
yeah.
Ocala, between Ocala and Tampa. So they're probably, maybe it's even less than an hour. They're in Dunellen, my brother and mother and father.
Halfway.
Yeah, so probably not that far from there. I got to go there next time I'm down. But tell me about Mermaids. Tell me about the process and also, you're one of the few people I know that produce. I know a lot of people produce and they go to festival. I know a lot of people that produce and they go YouTube. That's what we did with our mockumentary short film. But you got it on Prime Video right now. Like people could buy it through Amazon and watch it on Prime Video.
Yeah. The whole process of making
Not the
mermaids?
whole process, the 30-second pitch, the elevator pitch.
Oh, it's a park that I grew up close to, and I always want, like, even through film school, I always thought about it, and I just one day I was just like, I have the equipment. If anything, I could just like stay at my mom's house. Like, let me just call, see what they say. So I was like, hey, just want to make a documentary about this place. And the response was like, take a number. And I was like, sure. But they were very friendly, they were very open, and they found out that I'm a local, who's known the place, and they kind of just tolerated me for like it took me about 2 years to make.
Mm,
Um, so the first sort of like 6, 8 months of it was just getting to know everybody and getting to know their stories and gaining their trust, because when you're doing a documentary, especially with this place, they're very protective about it.
mm.
And they're easily ostracized from the community if they do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing, or they're very fast to cut you off if they think that you're telling the wrong story that makes them
Interesting.
look bad or whatever. and I eventually gained their trust, and they tolerated me for a number of years, where I would come in maybe every month or two, and I would film. They would let me free dive in the water with the mermaids, which was a lot of fun.
So you're not on scuba
Um,
while you're filming down there?
no, if I was scuba diving, I would have to have a team of like 5 people
Oh,
to
really?
um to be there, and that was logistically not possible for what I wanted to do.
Now, is that
Um,
because what from as a filmmaker you think you need that, or like insurance kind of things? Like they would make you do that?
both.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Yeah.
they would make me do that. They would make me do it. It was a state law, I think, at that point. Like if you have
Oh.
one scuba diver in there, you have to have a safety team. Um, but if you're free
Oh,
diving,
yeah, that makes
vaya con
sense.
Dios, you know?
Yeah. I used to be a
So
certified scuba diver, so now yeah, that side of it makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, so I would free dive because I'm a pretty good swimmer. But there was a lot of times where I'd film somebody holding my breath, and then by the time it was like my lungs started collapsing, I would look up and I'd realize I was probably like 20 feet deep still. So it was definitely a big risk on my life.
You know what's
But yeah,
funny
so
about
I
that? I was just say life, like what would be easier would be safer to be on scuba.
it would have
And
been much safer to be on scuba.
like but they need but free diving and pearl divers that have died because they go down there and they're trying to make a living, there's documentaries on that too, I think, out there. But yeah, you just and you're 50 feet down at that point because they could do that, but it's like they want to get that one more pearl because time is money and all that stuff, yada yada. But that's crazy. Yeah.
I still have dreams about it, and which is part of the film. I still have anxiety dreams about it too, but I don't know, there was something about it where it's like I was able to hold my breath a little bit longer than I should be able to. And I
Mm,
was able to like kind of glide along the floor of the performance area with an ease that I shouldn't have been able to have. But yeah, so then I made the film, and I went to a couple festivals, won a few. I took it to the Marché at Cannes and showed it
oh,
there, which was really
nice,
fun.
nice.
And yeah, now it's on Amazon.
Yeah. No, I love it. And for those who don't know, the mermaids are, I didn't know about it. I think you maybe have heard about it, but before Disney, it was like the thing in Florida.
Yeah. The movie's called We Are Mermaids, first of all.
Right.
Third one.
Right.
Yeah. It's one of Florida's first and only remaining roadside attractions, because back in the day, it was to go from New York to Miami, you would road trip with the family down I-19, I guess it is. And then Disney came along, and then they built I-75, which was slightly to the east of it,
Hmm.
which took all the traffic away. So that took away a lot of their business, and the
Yeah,
park eventually became started to decline in guests and, aesthetically and funds.
man.
So it faced foreclosure a lot. I remember growing up, there was always like, oh, the park's closing. And then there would be a fundraiser, and people would come together and support it. And then it'd be open for a few more years. And then it's like, oh, the park's closing. And then it'd do it again. It was a cycle. And then I guess the state took it over eventually.
And then the park, it's an amusement park too. I know you have the mermaids are ladies that do like underwater stories and ballet and kind of things. And
Yeah,
yeah,
on
a
the
couple
other side
guys
of it,
too.
there
Yeah.
on the other side of it, there's a water park because it's a natural spring. So
Oh, okay.
the mermaids perform at the source of the spring.
Yeah.
And so if you're in it, you're swimming around, you're getting tossed around because the current's really, really strong. And then
Oh,
it flows
interesting.
out into the river, and the river goes out into the Gulf of America, or Gulf, as they say, Gulf of Mexico, whatever you want to
Yeah,
call
I'll
it.
never call it that.
Uh, I'll never call it Gulf of America. I don't know how to say
Yeah,
that.
it's
Um,
it's the Gulf of Mexico since
it's the Gulf of
school.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Um, but it would flow out to there. And so the next part is the water park, which is like the beach and the slides. And like if you swim under the water, sometimes you can hear the show
Oh, cool.
reverberating through the water. So you know that they're performing at the time, and you can hear
Yeah.
it clear as day, which was cool.
And I love about the documentary, it actually you bring back like retired veterans of the show, right?
Hmm.
And you got a few modern performers in there, I think, if I remember correctly. But it's really talking about,
Yep.
yeah, but like the documentary about the people, about the space, and it really is a story. It's about the people. It's about artists, performers. It's about this business that was huge, And what was it? ABC owned it, right? No, right?
ABC owned it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like it was. I mean, we're talking about a major thing that went away because of trends changing, and it's still there, and it's it's just a fascinating story. I think it's a very American story in that sense. You know what I mean? It's not trying to put it in a box or anything like that, but it's more than and I think that's with most documentaries that people are like, oh, it's about these people that do this thing. It's so much more than that. If you watch it, it makes you think about a lot of anybody who owned a bookshop back in the day that's gone now because of Amazon.
Yeah.
Or, it's one of those stories, but it's also a story of resilience because they are finding a way. They're still operating today.
It's also kind of a story about like Americana in a
Yeah,
sense,
right, right,
but
right, right.
also how like people often think that we as a country don't have culture and we don't have
Hmm.
history.
Mm,
And we do. And
100%.
especially
Yeah.
Florida, it's like that old Florida where it's like they're people of the sea. They're water people, they're people of swampy lands and rustic
Yeah.
living. And that's how a lot of them still are. They really appreciate their connection with nature,
Yeah.
which is lost on a lot of us.
And a lot of Florida, it gets a bad name, and in many cases for good reasons. But I recently was visiting my parents, and they had like for lack of a term, a swamp tour. But they have a spring there, the Rainbow River, the Rainbow Spring, and the Rainbow Run they call it. What the river that's actually spring, and you get on the swamp boat, little pontoon, and the guy takes you around, and you go up the spring, but you're in the river, and then it crosses from river to spring. There's a line where it's like murky, darky swamp into completely clear spring water that is 72 degrees 24/7 year round. And then over here, and you don't get a lot of alligators up that way because there's less places for them to hide. But it's also where the manatees sometimes go because it's warmer. They're trying to get out of the cold water. They like it warmer. The alligators like it warmer, so they don't like to go in there unless they're looking for food. But it's just it's fascinating, like the birds that are, just unique everything. And then you learn about like the aquifers of Florida, these massive aquifers and it was funny. It's a sightseeing nature tour, but then it really gets into the science of what's happening to the aquifers because of pollution, because of things going on. There's so much more to it to learn down there. And then just to pivot a little bit, because I could talk all day about this documentary. I'm curious
Yeah.
about it. If
Well,
you're interested about it, I'll put the link in the show notes. Go on Prime. What is it, like $20 or something like that to watch this thing? Is it? No, is it
no,
less?
10 to 10
10?
to buy. I think it's like 3 to rent.
I
But
paid too
buy it.
much. No, no, I thought it'd be funny. So yeah, so I think I bought it. It's in my library.
Yeah.
But yeah, go watch it. $3, rent it, watch it. It's great. And then you got this new thing I'm fascinated by because I love history of theater. I love mummers. I love, my dad's somebody from Pennsylvania, Philadelphia specifically area. I love old Europe stories of minstrels and theater and and I've only seen clips of was it a teaser? You actually have a documentary out. This whole new project you're working on.
Yeah, it's like an anthology. It's pitched to be, it's so early.
Yeah.
But it's being pitched as an anthology series about Sardinia. And I think what you saw it's a documentary style interview of a group of traditional mass performers that perform in a remote village in
Mm,
central Sardinia called Su Corongiàiu. And so they would be part of a short film called The Forest, which is basically just gonna um, feature them and just
yeah.
kind of showcase what they do in a somewhat abstract way. There's going to be
Hmm.
7 other stories. Some are a little bit more, some are dramas, some are satirical sort of takes on um, Sardinia's political strife with mainland and
Mm,
their own policies, their protection. But I think the connecting theme with these 7 stories or these 8 stories, as well as the mermaids, is like my exploration of humans' connection with nature and self.
mm,
Because Sardinia is it's very isolated because it's an island. Um, but they're very connected to the land and their history and their culture, which is known to be one of the oldest societies out there. They say they're the birth of society, birth of humanity, but who knows if that's true? I choose to believe it. Um, so it's just kind of like where they stand and how they're sort of like navigating with their culture and their world and maintaining it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of outside sources. I think like one of it is that a lot of NATO tests and develops bombs and stuff on Sardinia. Sardinia is known for having a really big weapons factory, which the citizens of obviously do not care for.
Yeah,
uh,
that's terrible. I like it's such a beautiful place.
yeah, and it's the development and the testing is polluting a lot of the pure, pristine natural resources that they have,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's making the locals sick. So that's
Yeah, that's
another short in the
yeah.
one of the seven, eight.
I'm fascinated because I've been to Italy for a few weeks. You're like part-timer Italian living there. It seems like you're there more. You travel a lot. I'm jealous a little bit. I have very little FOMO and jealousy, but you go to Italy as much as you do. I'm like, that might be the
Well, I
one thing
lived
I'm
there.
jealous. Huh?
I lived there for a number of years.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And you go back regularly, right? I mean, you're there a couple times a year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And I love
Depends
the
how
idea of
depends how work
yeah.
is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I love the idea that you're creating work that forces you to go there too. I think that's amazing. I've got a friend, people that don't know, I'm a fan of David Duchovny, and he thinks I'm the president of his fan club, and it's not too far off, but
Probably are.
I've stepped back from my responsibilities in recent years. But his drummer, for those who don't know, David Duchovny has a band. For those who, if you know, you know. I'm going to skip the whole thing I usually say at this point, but it's great. I love the music. I love the band members, and one of his drummers percussionist. He's a very accomplished musician. Is also a videographer and travel blogger, and got a 1 year deal, I think, with Condé Nast, where they sent him all around the world, like 50 locations to film and blog about for a year. And I'm like, is that not the most amazing dream job? We talk about being on Broadway and opera and living the dream as actors, but man, you know what? I would take that job. I'd sadly probably take it at a third where he probably got paid to do it, and expenses paid. Seeing all these amazing places and great articles. Yeah, he's a great writer too. But yeah, Sebastian Modak, it's just phenomenal, phenomenal. But again, creating work um, that allows you to do what you love to do a little bit. And then, but it's also something that's funny you say that the Florida. What I found when I was in Italy, I think Mediterranean culture, this in general, um, they're it's a different vibe for sure.
Hmm.
It's a moderate climate, so a lot of aggression comes out of there politically, from the Roman Empire and everything. But at the same time, the people, you could survive on a minimal because it's not freezing that much, especially down south. And you've got access to the water, so you've got fish, you've got amazing agriculture. The food is simple but delicious. That the Mediterranean diet, all these things. There's just so much to learn from that. And then, of course, human nature comes in and pollutes it with politics and other things and ruins it. And weapons factory on Sardinia, that sounds like horror, the story to me. But there's also an element
Yeah.
like the costumes, the mask. If I can, maybe I'll try to. I don't do any editing for these podcasts, but I'll put a link to what I can find for that, or send me the link, where that video is. It's on YouTube, I think.
I think it's
The
on
the
YouTube.
the teaser or I guess it's like a short documentary that's meant to promote the program,
It's
right?
like a 6-minute clip of just
Yeah.
them explaining who they are. Yeah.
There's elements of it like the handmade masks, the handmade costumes, but I could also see taking like creating like a horror story because they're the kind of like old world costumes and masks that you just randomly ran into a person in the middle of the woods wearing one of those things. You might assume they're an axe murderer, like
Yeah.
out of
It's a
context.
very A24 concept, but again,
Yeah,
like
exactly, exactly.
with the mermaids,
Like some cult
I
thing.
wouldn't, I
Not that
wouldn't,
they are, but
right, exactly. I don't think that they would agree to do something like that.
no,
And
no, 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 no,
I
no.
wouldn't kind of.
but it is of that old European period that they're keeping alive, that like the
Hmm.
performance troupe. But it's I love stuff like that. I love going to Renfest when it's the good stuff. And I have a
Yeah.
mentor that was a mime that did Renfests and just one of the best mimes, Marceau trained, or the people that really do, like I said, the mummers that keep the old traditions alive. And similarly, like people, friends that I know that do the African dance or the Caribbean stuff. It's like those real cultural things. And like you said, we've got it here, and we've got jazz, and we've got you know all these different art forms that are uniquely American. We just need to get out there more. Um,
Yeah.
hey, I'm babbling all
It
day
both
long. Yeah.
both sense the mermaids and the Corongiaiu guy,
Mm,
the mask guy, both of them, the older women who had done it in the past, they had had a bit of a renaissance of it. Like one day around the same time, they're like, we should pick this up again. And they did. For the mask guy, they had stopped doing it for a couple hundred years. And then he kind of talked to some older people who, 100-year-old people from the past who had like passed on all these stories and gave him information about it. And he rebirthed the whole troupe.
that's
In
amazing.
Sardinia, they all have their own, each sort of like village or small region has their own specific group of that nature.
Yeah.
Uh, in all of the island, they had the Mamutone, which is the famous ones, which are very particular looking. You have to look them up. But yeah, both of them are kind of people who like went back into their history and decided to bring it back because it had died for a moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I recently saw something probably on YouTube or History, one of those channels, but a similar type of group, maybe a slightly bigger scale, but in Greece that are doing like old Greek plays in
Yeah, that'd be cool.
outdoor forums in massive festival manners, the way they would have been done back in the day. Well, even for that, the people that do Shakespeare in the festival manner with, the Globe style theater, either at Renfest or otherwise, keeping that old theater style alive. And I think a lot of people, they see modern versions of Shakespeare, they love it or they don't. But if you ever get a chance to see those old plays presented the way they used to be presented. I just think I love the history of it. I think, submersing yourself in that kind of it's a time capsule that you get to live in for a couple hours.
Yeah, it's great to bring this stuff back.
Yeah, we need more of that. Cool, man. Anything else you want to leave us with? Anything else you're working on?
Lots of stuff. I'm shooting a lot of arrows. They gotta land somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'll
Um,
wrap this up. I have two main things that I do. I promote improv as an entertainment and as an education, and even to me, the murder mysteries are an extension of that. And I have my quit your day job babble about creating your own work. Don't waiting for opportunity. You want to be an actor, there is work out there. You just can't wait to be hired sometimes. And having the employee mentality, and you're somebody as a filmmaker that's out there doing it, and it's creating opportunity as well as and I feel like even if it's, I don't know if Mermaids is making you money kind of a thing, but just even doing that, I think makes you a better improviser. It makes you a better storyteller. Every time you're creating, I always say, always be creating, kind of taking away from the Glengarry Glen Ross, always be closing. Always be creating because you never know where it's going to lead to. Like I said, yeah, you're shooting a lot of arrows, but that's what you have to do. I always say try to do it as cheaply as possible until, and then ROI, when you make money, reinvest. But you got to do that in this business. And at some point I want to sit down and talk to you. I have a lot of ideas for projects that I'm like that have been on the burners. I've even started to write scripts for things, but you have more production experience. And we've even talked about, or even doing like a sketch comedy special or an improv comedy special, because the nature of the SEO game now, for the whole reason I'm doing a podcast is, I have no desire to sit down and do a podcast. I love talking to you about this. I could talk about this stuff forever. And we go
yeah.
on road shows. We have conversations. We always say we should have filmed that. While we're in the car, we have like really amazing conversations about the industry. Amelia and I have amazing conversations about her growing up in Brooklyn, me growing up in the burbs, African American woman, white guy, and just comparing stories and trying to figure out what the hell's going on with this world. that conversation should be a podcast. But I know if we had the camera on, it would be never be as good. But but that's the secret. I think it's finding that sauce. Like how do you get that onto the camera and translate it? But you're good at that. You know how to do that. So we should talk more because I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
opportunity.
With We Are Mermaids, it was something where it's like I didn't wait to apply to the thousands of grants that you'll never get.
Yeah,
Especially with
yeah.
documentaries, because like you only get funding basically if people die and if it's something really tragic, which is just not the case for this film.
Hmm.
I had the equipment, I had the resources, so I did it.
Yeah.
I was lucky
And
too. They were
yeah,
very
and
kind.
some
They were very
people
open to
with
just
an
letting me do it.
iPhone, you could have filmed that. Not to diminish your work, but if you're like 14, 15 years old out there, your parents gave you an iPhone, start shooting stuff. Start
Sean
making.
Baker got to Sundance, I think, shooting a film on an
Yeah,
iPhone.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's a few out there that have broken through the indie, and usually with the horror too. The horror, they always say, if you ever go to film festivals, if you ever want to hope to make money making films, do horror, because like horrible scripts can make money in horror. Horrible filmmaking, you get a couple jump scares. Bad acting can make money in the horror world. It's sad, but the Toxic Avenger guy that makes like what 10, 20 films every year it seems, and then one breaks through like Toxic Avenger makes a fortune over time. And then all these other ones, they through the festivals and the showings, they break even. Sometimes they lose, but one a year breaks through enough that pays that he's making six figures. And this is an old story. This is 10, 20 years ago that I've heard this story about this guy. But again, create, create, create. I always talk about Danny, not Boyle, Danny McBride. Foot First Way. Oh, he had a movie called Foot First Way, Eastbound and Out. I'm not a huge fan, but his comedy style is good, and people love him. I'm not his biggest fan, but I was working at the Laugh Factory when they showed his film in the Times Square Laugh Factory that was there in 2005 to 2007. And the main theater got sold out because Will Ferrell saw it, loved it, got behind it. And ever since that year, he's been working nonstop. He's had a
Mhm.
half a dozen shows now, I think, on HBO. But all started with him just making this weird kind of martial arts film and weird
Yeah.
mockumentary comedy thing, right? And I don't even know. I think it's that. I didn't see it. I was in the other room doing a show. But that's the first time I ever heard of this guy. And then he's in something ever since. You know,
Yeah.
yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Create,
Well, for
create,
me, like
create.
the goal is like, I never got into film production, filmmaking with the intention of making money, because if you do, that's you're in it for the wrong reason.
Yeah,
The goal is to just be able to keep the ball rolling, and make keep creating something, and the more you do it, the more of a team you'll amass, and
yeah,
hopefully the more opportunities you'll get. Like, for me, the biggest obstacle was COVID. To get to the top of our conversation that we were having before, where it's like I had finished the Mermaids around COVID time, and so when it came time to do festivals, they're all gone.
mm,
Everybody that I collaborated with left the city. Everybody that I did UCB with left the city.
yeah.
Um, so it's you never know what's gonna happen as you progress through your career, but you always have to just be ready to bounce back.
I wonder. I've been having this thought. My manager is actually producing a horror film. And he's getting ready to put it in all these festivals. And I keep following him on TikTok. Jamie Baker, follow him. He's fun. Great manager. Got me a lot of work over the years. Um, and he's talking. And I almost want to have a conversation with him or have a conversation with you as serious, legitimate filmmakers, our artsy folks. That's the wrong word for it, but in the game. It's still all about the festival. And as somebody who's made money as a commercial producer, doing the corporate world, doing this thing, but also producing content, I wonder more and more, there's making content and then there's finding ways to monetize it so you can support yourself doing it ultimately. And I feel like if you focus on that too much, the art sucks. But,
Yeah.
but you got to focus on the art, you got to get it. But I wonder if the festival world, if you're not going to break through, especially with distribution deals like only going to Marvel now, only going to Blackbuster, would you be better off, are there, I guess if you put on YouTube, a theater doesn't want to show it. If you do festivals, you might get picked up by a theater to show it or something like that. But I wonder, as a path forward for filmmakers in 2026, what still is it still make the most sense to focus on the festival, or maybe festival first, but putting on Prime, you can make more money per view. Would you get more views putting it on YouTube or something like that? You know what I mean? Or how do you feel? Where do you come down on that kind of argument?
I don't think the festival circuit's dead yet. And then Prime, for me, Prime was a great option just because I did have some distribution offers,
Mm.
and I just never took them. They didn't seem like they were like the right fit for me.
Oh,
I had a
interesting.
few in Europe that I probably should have taken advantage of. But they wanted shorts and stuff like that. And also
Mm.
it just didn't, my ROI wasn't great. Um, but yeah, Amazon's good because it gives like it's a 50% cut. And then there's a few other options that you can do. There's FilmRise that'll help you. I think it's FilmRise that'll help you find distribution, get you in other platforms.
Mm.
But yeah, it's just at this point for me, the goal would be to get just diffuse it out there just so people see it. Like you're not making, I think I make like, if you I make 50% of the sales on Amazon,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which comes to like, I think the most I've made so far was like $600 a month on it. And that was after
That's
making an
something,
appearance on the
though.
news. It's something, it's great. Like, yeah, I mean, and
Yeah.
I get something in the mail every month, which is whatever, but it's
What a lot of
great.
people don't realize, the beautiful thing about that, it will make money in perpetuity. Even if it's like $5 a month for the rest of your life, with royalties on
Something.
TV shows, same thing. I make a few bucks every year from shows I did 15 years ago. But all the
Yeah.
shows add up to the point where I'm still making, like, I don't know, 2 to 3 grand a year from things I created, and not just the TV shows, books I've written that are on Amazon as well, KDP and whatnot, self-published, but just all these income streams by creating. And if you don't, and one may or may not break through, I'm still making all my money from the live experience. But at the same time, all those things, my credits, my books, the blogs, the content online, promotes the live experience. So it's,
There's also another way of about going about any of this is to
yeah.
just create vertical content.
Mm.
Then you don't have to do the festivals. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You can just make quick 90 second clips, episodes. I mean, I watched this one guy, Bistro Huddy, who's hilarious, and it's
Yeah.
about working in a restaurant. He's great, and I think he's doing pretty well for himself. But
Yeah.
you'll see like people put on their own, develop their own short form TV shows, and it's different, and maybe you'll get some funding from it. Maybe you'll get some revenue from it. But again, you start a project because you have a story to tell and you want to get
Yeah.
it out there. Uh, if the money comes, the money comes. And if anything, you keep creating and you will find more people with whom you can collaborate and create
Yeah.
more.
Well, I was
And
like, yeah, what I love
if you're
about you
lucky to do
doing,
it, if you're
yeah.
lucky to do it
Well, I was like, you're
forever, yeah.
doing it. You're creating sketches. You're creating one man short films a
Oh
few
yeah,
times
yeah.
a week,
I do that too, don't I?
Huh?
I do that too, don't I?
Yeah, yeah. And it's like you might get a couple hundred here, you might get 1,000 here, you might get a few hundred here, you might get that. But again, over time it adds up. And again, everything you do promotes everything else you do. So it's like, hey, who's this guy? Oh, he's got a movie. Oh, he's got an improv show. Oh, he's got this. He's got, and it's it's reductive to an artist, I think. But there's something called a sales funnel, and there's literally everything we do plugged somewhere into that funnel, and some of those things make money, some of them don't, but it's all about building brand. It's all about building. And I know, a lot of times as an artist, you don't want to sound like a marketing schmuck, but if you peel back at all the things, it is ultimately we're creating stuff, and ultimately, for me at least, the goal is not to have a day job. It's not that, it is to support myself from my talents. So, and I've been doing that now, day job free, for 20 years because of it. But you realize, and I learned about funnels years after I was doing them. But you realize I'm creating content. I'm getting thousands of views online from videos. I'm blogging. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And then people hire me to do a show or a workshop. But it all came from that stuff when other people are spending thousands of dollars on marketing to do what we do at the corporate world. So we could
Mhm.
charge less, one, but everything we do, but you have a short film that promotes you as well as the film. And then everything you do potentially promotes the short film or the film rather. Actually, it's a feature length, right?
Yeah,
85, 90 minutes. Yeah.
I think it's
Um,
82.
yeah. And then it's just all a matter of just getting one to the other. It's harder and harder these days, but it's amazing how that works. And then, with this project, and then you also have that body of work that says, why should I hire this? Oh, he's done all these other things. And you have proof of your experience. Everybody on their website says, I've done this, but you have a video proof of it. I have a product. I can show you something. The reason I have my books, anybody could do what I did. I wrote a book on improv comedy, and I have my own Waltisms in there that are original. But because I'm the guy who wrote the book, Business Success, I don't sell any copies. But on my website, I'm the guy who wrote the book, so I get hired for the corporate event
Yeah.
a lot of times,
Yeah.
right? It's like another business card. It costs me $3 for an author copy, and I give them away all the time. But they're more effective. People don't throw those out. They keep them, they read them, or they give them to a friend. Yada yada. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. I'm babbling a little bit, but I just want to say I appreciate what you're doing, and I think it's amazing. I love that video, and I'm going to post it. Everybody should see it, and it's great. Not anthropology, or anthropology? No, what do you call it?
Anthropology,
It is anthropology. Yeah, that is the right word. And
anthropological.
yeah, right, right. It's historical. It's culture. There's so much to it. It makes you want to go to Italy so bad and just
Sardinia.
eat. You know what I mean? Oh, it's sorry. They're very particularly. It's not Italy, isn't it? It's
Which Delta Airlines just started flying there nonstop from New York City, so maybe
they
they
have their
can
own airport,
sponsor
so that's
us.
something. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They've
And
got a few
Sardinia,
airports.
if you're Sardinia is like, is that where the big volcano was? Right?
No,
Is that
that's Vesuvius. That's in.
No, 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 not that volcano, but the one like prehistory that might have gone off. That might have been like it's one of the places that could have been Amazon by some documentary.
There's Vesuvius and Etna in Italy.
No. Those are the two active ones. Or am I thinking? No, where's Minos? Where's I'm thinking the Greek island.
Greece.
Yeah.
Actually, Sardinia is I think Sardinia is the only seismically inactive
Oh,
place in
interesting.
Italy. Because I was there once. I was visiting friends in Florence and Rome, and then
I
I
think
went
I'm
to
thinking
Sardinia.
Santorini.
Oh, it probably. But I was visiting
Yeah.
friends in Sardinia, and we had an earthquake in mainland, and so
You
we
didn't even
didn't
feel
feel it.
it?
No.
Wow. Yeah, I've seen your
But,
pictures from there too. Like, I just want to go there, and I'm a swimmer.
right?
I would.
Yeah.
I feel like if I lived there, I feel the same way about Florida too. If I lived there, I get nothing done. I think this is
Fine.
why a lot of science came from the colder climates out of
La dolcezza di far niente.
yeah, yeah. I would wear a toga and just chill and go swimming, and it's the life. Cool,
Yeah.
man. Hey, man, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for
Check
having
out
me.
David and all the socials, and I'll put some links down there in the show notes. And we'll see you guys next time. David and I are both showing up regularly. David more than me sometimes because I'm always on the road, it seems. But every Saturday at 3 o'clock, improv comedy in Times Square. Most Saturdays at 12 o'clock, improv class. We have two new students starting this week. And new students, we might even have to start adding times because the last couple weeks, our regulars have been more consistent. And we're getting like a new student every week now. So we might have to start adding some times or something because,
I've had requests for Sundays.
oh, there is a request for Sunday start. You request.
No, no, no. I've just had people be like, "Ah,
Yeah,
Sundays would be
yeah,
great."
yeah, yeah. We might have to start adding Sundays back. We used to do every Saturday, Sunday, and post COVID, it's just and not just because of COVID and crowds, SEO marketing and everything else has been weird more and more so. If you follow my social media, you've heard me complain about that plenty of times. And although I was complaining about less than everybody else until March 27. And if you're in the marketing game, if you're in the arts game, look up the Google changes that happened March 27 that knocked 95% of my SEO traffic off my website in overnight. So I went from 3,000.
Well, like I
Yeah.
said before, it's just like COVID. Bam, you're doing great, and then
Yeah.
bam, COVID hits
Yeah.
and everything's gone. You got to start over. It's
Yeah.
just roll with the punches, adapt or get out of the way, you know?
Exactly. Although I'm not doing any worse because we do the content, we're on the platforms. So you just got to have your links to ticket sales. You can't, it's not about getting them to the website anymore. It's just like, If you like the video, buy a ticket. You like the video, buy a ticket. There is no more funnel. It's just just make it easy for them to buy a ticket if they want to, or blah 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 blah. So
Come see us. Come, and we're going to
exactly.
be at the Rat on the 29th.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if this is going to
Uncensored
be before
Wednesday.
April 29th.
Yeah, April 29th, uncensored at 9 o'clock in Dumbo, Brooklyn. If you haven't been, most people, if you haven't been to Dumbo, Brooklyn, it's like one of those new spots in the last 10 years you really should be at. Great bars, great restaurants, great theaters. St. Anne's Warehouse. Have you ever seen a show at St. Anne's Warehouse? I saw the Old Vic production with Gillian Anderson, again, X-Files, but and Ben Foster, and a few others doing Streetcar. And it was maybe one of the best theatrical experiences I've ever had. It was Streetcar in the Round, and St. Anne's Warehouse
Wow.
does a lot of great theater. They got the carousel, you got the views of Manhattan. It's fun. Go
A
check it
nice
out.
night out.
Yeah, awesome. All right, guys, thanks so much. It's been having fun with Walt Frasier. Check me out and check out David. Check us out. Show notes will have all the links. We'll see you guys next time. And this is where I got to figure out how to say stuff. Stop. I'm getting better.
All right.
Oh no, I still
Bye.
have one more button to push. I think I'm still